Hello and welcome. This is the Getting Started module of Easy C# Programming. The following are going to be objectives today. Number 1, installing the Microsoft Visual Studio 2010 Express and the SQL Server 2008 Express, accessing the database using a database client, writing our very first C# program, understanding variables and data types, and understanding the basic language constructs. Okay, so let's get started by setting up the environment. Number 1, we need to download and install the Microsoft Visual Studio 2010 Express. The Visual Studio is made available to us as an Express edition, which is free for developers to download, install and use. You can build great .NET applications using Visual Studio 2010 Express edition, and the best part is that it is free. So let's go ahead and download this great piece of software from the Microsoft.com website. Okay, here am I at my web browser, and I type in the URL microsoft.com/express/downloads and click enter. So this takes me to the Microsoft Visual Studio 2010 Express homepage. I go to the products menu and then I look at the Express products. I can see the different Visual Studio products like Visual Basic, Visual C#, C++, all listed below. I want to choose the all-in-one 2010 Express ISO disk image. So I click on this link which says Express ISO 2010 Express ISO. I click this link. It asks me to choose my language. I choose my language, which is English. And then okay, so can you see the box here? It's asking me, do I want to save VS 2010 Express 1.iso from download@microsoft.com? Yes, I indeed want to save the file to my local system. So I click on save. Remember, this is a 690 MB file, so and depending on your internet connection speed, it may take some time. So please give it sufficient time for downloading. Okay, so here am I at my downloads folder. The file has been downloaded to my local system. It is a 693 MB file and it is called VS 2010 Express 1.iso. Okay, so before we do anything with this ISO image file, we need to have a software which can read disk images. Okay, one such good software which I use and recommend is WinRAR. So if you already have WinRAR on your system, you're in luck. Otherwise, it's pretty easy. Go to your web browser again, type in your search box, type in download WinRAR. You can download the free version, good enough. Okay. So click on the link. On the very first link, I click on the very first link, which takes me to the winrar.com website, and then there is this download file, which is the 32-bit file. So even if your system is a 64-bit system, you could still go ahead and install the 32-bit version of it. Click on download, and it will install and it will download the WinRAR file to your hard disk. Okay, so the file would be WRAR401.exe from winrar.com. Click on save to save this file to your hard disk. Okay, so once you're done, you will have this wrar401.exe file on your system in your downloads folder. Double click this to install WinRAR on your computer. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you already installed WinRAR on your system. Okay, now let's go back to the file which you downloaded. This is the VS 2010 express1.iso file. Right click this file, and if you've installed WinRAR on your system, you would see these menu options. I would say extract files, and I can give a location where I want to extract the files to. Okay, I would choose the location. You can choose any location you want, and I have extracted these files to the location under installables, Windows installs. Yeah, I have extracted the ISO image to a local folder. Okay, so once you have extracted the ISO image, you will see a folder setup like this. You will see an include folder, VB Express, VC Express, VCS Express, and so on. There would also be a setup.html application. Double click this one, and this will bring up the home screen of the Visual Studio 2010 Express setup. So click on Visual Studio 2010 Express to install C# on your computer. Okay, and it is recommended you first install C# 2010 Express. Okay. In this program, we would be looking at Visual C# 2010 Express and the Visual Web Developer 2010 Express. Okay, C# to build to understand the language, to understand the .NET framework, and Web Developer to build great .NET web applications. Okay, so go ahead, click on the first link, Visual C# 2010 Express, to start installing the software on your computer. All right. Okay, so once you set up Visual C# 2010 Express, by the way, installing C# 2010 Express would also install the .NET Framework 4.0 and the SQL Server 2008 Express Edition on your computer. Once done, go ahead and install the Visual Web Developer 2010 Express. Follow the wizard as it takes you through the different processes, the installation paths, accept the recommendations, and install the software. Okay, so once you install C# and Web Developer, your Visual Studio 2010 Express is ready. Okay, now let's go to the second step. We did install the SQL Server 2008 Express as part of Visual Studio 2010. Now we needed a database client to access the database server. Okay, one of the clients which I use and would recommend to you to also use is from VersaBanq. So open up your web browser again and type in this URL. Let's go to the the browser. Here am I at my browser window, and type in versabanq.com products/SQL.php. Okay, this takes me to the VersaBanq products home page, and then I want to download SQL. Okay, so I go to the link which says download VersaBanq SQL. I click on this link and save this exe file to my computer. Okay, so here am I at my downloads folder. The file name is called squel.exe. This is the file which you downloaded from VersaBanq. So you can double click this to open up the database client. Okay, so the very first time the client runs, you would see a window like this. It asks you to connect to the server. You need to give the server, give the server name. The server name for Microsoft SQL Server 2008 Express is generally the name of your computer / SQL Express. So if you do not know the name of your computer, you can go to the command prompt, start, type in cmd, and at the command prompt type in hostname. What name, the result you see is the name of your computer. Okay, so go to your home page here and then say this is the name of my system. Okay, and then I say SQL Express. Okay, so this is the naming convention which you need to follow. The name of your system, your computer, and then / /SQL Express. And for the login and the password, keep them as empty. There are two authentication modes for SQL Server, and one is Windows authentication, the other is SQL Server authentication. We will be looking more into detail of these two different authentication types, but for now, leave the login and the password as blank and click on connect. Please give sufficient time to connect at the very first time. Okay. Right now my client is connected, and if you look at the top right corner, there is a drop down which says database. I click on this link and I see the different databases in this database server. Remember, a database server can have different databases, can house different databases. More on that later. Let's run some basic SQL commands to get familiar with the database and the database client. Okay. The first step is to create a database. On the database server, you can create a database. Okay. So the command is create database. I will call it studentdb. And I see, oh, before that, I need to select the database. I need to select master. Before I want to do any operation on the database, I need to select the master database. Okay. So from the drop down menu on my top right, I chose the database as master. Okay. So give it some time for the master databases schema objects to be loaded on the left pane. Okay. So if you look at the left navigation, you can see the different tables in this database, the views, the stored procedures, and the other DB objects. Okay. So don't worry much about them for now. Let's go ahead and create the database. The syntax is create database studentdb. And then I say select execute SQL. Okay. Now, if the database is created successfully, I get a success message. Okay. Once the database is created, we need to use the database. The command is use studentdb. Again, I say execute. Success. So we are now on the studentdb database. Here I say create table student. Name is the column name, varchar 25 is the column type. Enough for now. I close this and say execute SQL. So command successfully executed. Let us insert some data into this table. The command is insert into student name values. I choose Harry Potter. Okay, again select this SQL statement and say execute SQL. The response is success. If I want to look at the data in the table, the command is select star from student, execute SQL again. Okay, the name is Harry Potter. Okay, so far what we have done is we have created a database, created a table in the database, inserted some records and looked at the records using a select query. So if you have come so far, just to recap what you have done, we have installed Visual Studio in your local system, and we also installed the SQL Server client. We also had a quick primer on how to use some of the basic database commands. So what I suggest is for you to take a pause here and complete the steps, set up the environment and install the SQL client, work with the database, play around, make some mistakes, play around, correct them, and then come back when you are comfortable with the environment. Thank you, and we see you soon.